I want to show you a yellow rice and beans recipe that is as simple as it is delicious. This is not your ordinary rice side dish. This is hearty, flavor-packed, and absolutely soul-warming. It'll have you coming back for seconds or thirds. For the full ingredient list, check the description box below, but enough talking, let's get cooking. So we only got to prep a couple things to get this recipe going. We're going to put a small dice on this onion. Now that I'm looking at this onion, this is probably way too much, so we're only gonna put about half in, so I'll probably put half the onion into the sauté mixture that we're gonna make for this yellow beans and rice, or yellow rice and beans. There's a million ways to cut a pepper. This is the one that I'm currently doing. So this is a mismatch of 2 ways to cut a pepper. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find one flat side and I'm gonna cut it straight down. So now we got one piece and we can see inside the pepper. So now I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna go around and I can see the inside of the pepper, and I'll cut all the way around and take off the outside of the pepper, leaving a lot of the pith. Then I'll take the bottom and I'll just cut that off. Now I find that this is probably best yield, easiest way to cut a pepper. Let me know in the comment section if you like it. So now pepper is pull. I like to go the shiny side down because I feel like the knife grabs it better and I have better control over the pepper. And I'm just gonna pull my knife really gently along the cutting board, cutting these really small strips. And now I'm gonna take the strips a little bit at a time and rocker chopper all the way through. Now with these garlic cloves, I'm just gonna cut off the root end of the garlic. Crush them and put on fine mince. At this point, I would also be chopping some cilantro, but I went to the supermarket and they didn't have any. So instead of bailing on this recipe, I actually bought some of this little chopped cilantro. This is the first time I'm ever using it, but it looks pretty good and it's exactly what we need for the recipe. So a little chopped cilantro as well is gonna also go inside this rice. So now let's talk rice. This recipe can be made with any long grain rice. Here I'm choosing some jasmine rice. The first step to using any rice is you gotta rinse it and you gotta wash it. So we're gonna take a cup of this rice and put it inside this metal strainer. And now let's go over the sink and give this a wash. This is an essential step. I haven't always been a rice washer, but now I understand how important this is. On the outside of the rice is powder that eventually turns into this gummy substance. So by washing it, it allows a lot of space so you can feel all the grains of rice. This is a really nice touch that makes rice really good, and I'll never make rice without washing it ever again. So now with cold water, I'm gonna put this on the sprayer and I'm just gonna spray the rice. The sprayer itself's got enough pressure and you can see how cloudy the water is coming out of this rice. And that's all the rice, I guess you call it rice flour or rice dust that's on this rice, and just makes it a little gummier. If we can get rid of that, the rice is gonna cook really purely. There's gonna be a lot of rice, but no gummy liquid in between. Some people go nuts at washing their rice and soaking it. I just give it a good rinse, and then once I start seeing that the water's running clear through, which looks like it's not too cloudy anymore, I think that's usually about as far as I'll go. Inside this little sauce pot with a nice tight fitting lid, we're gonna put in the washed rice. Now all rices are different. This rice is 1 cup of dried rice to 1.5 cups of liquid. I usually find that whatever they say on here, I put a little bit more. So this says 1 cup of rice and then 1.5 cups of water. So I'm gonna put 1.75 cups, and instead of using water, we're gonna use a chicken broth to add some flavor to this. So now let's season this liquid. So first we're gonna put in a little turmeric. This is gonna add that really distinct yellow color to the rice. It's kind of what makes it yellow rice. And we're gonna put in a little smoked paprika, cumin, and some of my base seasoning. This is a blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. Not gonna put too much of this because this has salt in it. So does the chicken broth that we put in, and the next ingredient is also very salty. Now we're gonna put in the chicken bouillon powder packet. This has a lot of flavor in it, so we're just gonna put half the packet in. I'll save half the packet for making something else. Maybe I'll even make some more rice. We're gonna add a touch of olive oil. And now we're gonna give this a mix. And we may mix it a little bit more once it gets a little hotter, dissolve some of that chicken bouillon cubes, or that chicken bouillon powder. We're gonna bring this up to a boil, and once it's at a boil, we're gonna let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Then I'm gonna shut the heat off and let it sit with the lid on to continue to fluff and steam and cool down a little bit. Always wanna let rice sit for a little bit with the lid on after you remove it from the heat. So now that our rice is on the stove, let's head over to the stove, and in a separate pan, we're gonna saute those onions, the peppers, and the garlic. So we're gonna turn this high rim saute pan on a medium heat. Add a little olive oil to the bottom of the pan. Now we're gonna add in about half the onions. And this was a small bell pepper, so we'll put the whole thing. Maybe if it was larger, we'd probably only put half, but this is about, I guess, about a cup of chopped bell pepper and a cup of chopped onions. So once this pan heats up and these starting to sizzle, I'm gonna keep the heat pretty low, maybe on like a medium low. I'm not trying to get that much browning on the outside of these, just trying to soften them up a little bit. So we'll soften these for a few minutes before we put our garlic in. So once the onions have gotten nice and translucent and have softened up, we'll add our garlic. And we're gonna cook until it's nice and fragrant. The garlic is at a pretty low risk of burning right now because the temperature in this pan is pretty low, but I'm still gonna pay attention and make sure not to burn the garlic. Nobody likes the flavor of burnt garlic. Browned is okay, burnt, ugh. And as soon as I threw that in the pan, because it's chopped so finely, it gets super fragrant super quick, and you can really smell it. It smells unbelievable. And if at any point I think the pan's a little dry, I may put just a touch more oil in there. Once that garlic has had a chance to cook, we're gonna season with a little of my base seasoning. I use this stuff all the time. You saw we just use it in the recipe, and we'll use it in almost all my recipes. And then we'll also put in a touch of some white wine vinegar for some acidity. And we'll give that a mix. And once most of the vinegar is evaporated, we're gonna put in our beans. Now, these are canned black beans. They're already fully cooked, so you don't have to cook them. They just need to go in to warm up, and you don't wanna overcook them so they break. So I try to put them in as late as possible. So we'll give this a mix and let this saute for a minute or two. So our rice is all steamed. We're gonna shut the heat off of it, but we're gonna leave it just like it is on the stove, on the hot burner with the cover on. We're gonna let it sit there for about another 5 or 10 minutes so it can steam and fully cook. And after this has sauteed for a few minutes, we're also gonna shut the heat off of it, and we're gonna leave it just like that. And once this rice is done steaming, we're gonna mix everything all together with that chopped cilantro. Our rice has had a little bit of time to steam and cool down. So now we're gonna take that rice, beautifully seasoned, really nicely cooked, and we're gonna mix that with the sauteed onions, peppers, and those black beans. We're also gonna take some of this chopped cilantro. This is the first time using this product. I've never even opened it before. So let's see what's inside. I've used the dried stuff, but this is fresh chopped cilantro. And it actually looks pretty good. And it says it'll be fresh up to 4 weeks before you open it. So we're gonna take a nice hefty pinch of that and throw that right in there. And we're gonna mix this all up, fluff that rice. This smells unbelievable as I'm mixing this together. Really nice. And to mix it really well, I'm just breaking up all those rice clumps and fluffing that all nicely. I'll take a little bit more of that cilantro and sprinkle it just right on the top. This rice and beans looks absolutely unbelievable. It smells so good. I can't wait to try it. So now let's take this beautiful rice and put it inside this bowl. Sprinkle on a little bit more of that cilantro. And we're gonna serve it with a lime wedge to squeeze on right before eating it. So right before we try this, let's take that lime wedge and squeeze that nice fresh lime juice right on the top. This is really gonna make all those flavors pop. This is all well incorporated, so one nice big spoonful is gonna get us a little bit of everything. But check out that spoonful with the rice, the beans, the sauteed veggies. I can't wait to try this. Oh my, this is so good. I mean, this is just a side dish, but maybe you're vegetarian and you want to eat this just like this. I know I made it with the chicken broth, so maybe you would do like veggie, but this is so good and so hearty. This is a side dish that would be happy to be next to any main course. Oh man. The rice is cooked perfectly. I personally love beans, so anything with beans I'm really gonna like. And there's just so many flavors in here. This is so good. This rice would be an unbelievable side to my carnitas tacos. I'm gonna drop that right here for you, and I'll see you there. Thanks.